Today's statue is easily one of the worst and also one of the best statues I've ever seen. Sometimes when buying statues, things can go horribly wrong where what it looks like as a prototype is very much different from what it looks like in the production piece. Now, $1,200 is a lot of money to spend on a collectible, and sadly, today is a tale of a statue that just didn't deliver. Special thank you to Akshay, who sent this statue over to me so I could review and showcase it on the channel. Hopefully learn a lesson today and really just enjoy this overall experience. If you're new to the channel, I love unboxing anime statues for series like Naruto, Bleach, Pokemon, Demon Slayer, and so I want to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Also, we're doing a giveaway for this Naruto statue you see behind me for our 200,000 subscriber special. Later on in the video, I will provide some details on that. Today's statue is made by Big Gecko Studio. It comes with not only just one, but two giant boxes that we're going to be looking at today. Without delay, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look. Alright everybody, so starting off we have this giant enormous base that's going to be supporting a lot of different effects, particles, Naruto, Sasuke, and everything that goes along with them. On the bottom we'll find a large felt pad so it can easily slide around. If we take a closer look at things, we will see a bunch of grooves cut out. We have some holes in there where the steel rods are going to be inserting later. And then as for the texturing, we can see it looks like a real rock, right? Realistic paint tones were used all throughout there, and nice texturing that's going on. It is crazy to think that they sculpted this all as one giant piece here. I mean, this thing is ginormous, but it is going to be supporting a lot, so it's important that it has a larger footprint. As for the effect pieces, there are probably upwards of like 10 different pieces that were sculpted separately. Every single one pretty much either has a steel rod going through the bottom like this, or it's just a notch that'll fit into place. So here are two different ones. The notch are different. Some are square, rectangular, some are more oval shaped, but that is the dust-like particles. They're going to be installed all throughout this statue to kind of bring to life an epic battle that's going on. I wanted to point out that for some of the larger pieces, if you look on the front side of it, looks perfectly fine, but flip it around back and you'll see it's got like a section carved out of it to where it's going to slide right into the rock. So like this is, for example, one of those pieces where it doesn't really have a steel rod in place, but it's more gravity held where the notch is going to go into the bottom and then it's just going to rest up against the rock, and it kind of wedges in between two rocks to fit into place. While we're waiting to get these effect pieces installed, I did want to mention that we have a BAM Collectibles Discord channel that has been around for quite a while, and if you ever want to join that community, I want to encourage you to do so. Visit the link in the bottom of the description, as well as any description of my videos. You'll be able to find that and join at any time. This notch that I just pointed out will be an effect that's installed later on. If I installed it now, it would actually get in the way of other pieces, so we'll do that later. But here's how everything looks together. Again, bringing more life to the scene, a little bit more energy with everything that's going to be going on that's so dynamic. Alright, so what we have going on here is the bottom of the Susanoo section. On the very bottom of this, we'll see the notch that's going to be sliding into the bottom of the base to secure it there. But the flames or the chakra particles that are forming all throughout the bottom, I'm loving the paint job that they did for this. They really did a great job at adding things on to the clear resin. And if you look towards the top of it, there's the bottom portion of the Susanoo armor where everything is going to be attaching later on. But this is really acting as the anchoring point for everything else that's going on above it. There's the notch we can see where the waist is going to key into place. Also, this is the section where Sasuke's foot peg is going to be keying into later, so very difficult to see, and it blends in very well. If you actually noticed before, there was a steel rod that stuck into that foot peg section. That's actually on the bottom of Sasuke's foot normally, but it got stuck into place, and I don't want to bother with trying to remove it. It actually still works perfectly fine, but I guess it just slipped out the bottom part of his foot there, but everything's nice, secure into place. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next piece we have to install, which is none other than the main body of Kurama. Now, this statue itself, it really is particular how you install pieces, because if you don't, then you have to take certain ones off in order to fit other ones in. So if you're someone who did purchase this statue or interested in it, be sure to pay attention to how we go about doing this. There's the only notch on this section that's going to key into the base. The rest of it just kind of rests by gravity alone. But there is the hole in the butt where the rest of the tails are going to be inserted. And then we have all sorts of the different shadings and markings. That's actually where Naruto's foot's going to key into later, just like we saw Sasuke's. I am very curious what your thoughts are on this paint job. Should they have kept it the way that it is here, right? Painted with more flatter tones, or should they have casted this in clear resin, tinted in yellow? So I'd like to hear in the comments below, what do you think? Is this the way it should have been, or maybe they should have went with that more clear resin? With that dust effect piece back into place, we'll look at the 7 giant tails that were sculpted all together. I believe there's 7 altogether. And we can see here, if we look closely, there is the one singular notch that it connects to the back. And then we also have these other sections where tails were sculpted separately that we'll key into later. If we look towards the bottom, this is actually where a dust particle is going to be installed. But if you look towards the bottom, there is some scratches and markings on the statue. That is one of the major flaws with this statue, is how resin is rubbing up against resin. That is one of the things that's just taboo when collecting, is you don't want resin hitting resin. That's how you get scratched up paint. That's how you get damaged resin where it cracks because there's too much weight against each other. And also this tail itself, it's really difficult to get into place. And again, it's scratching up against some of the rocks in the back. It's resting up against there. So as I mentioned before, I think there was 7 tails total. Here are some additional tails that were sculpted separately. That's just going to key in to some of those notches that we saw with those steel rods. I mean, for what they are, these tails are great. It's really dynamic, the way that it's flowing and wrapping around the whole statue. Looks great. And here is one additional. So I guess I was wrong. There was 6 originally sculpted, and we have these 3 extras here because it is going to be the 9 tails. Up next, we're going to be getting into one of the worst things that happened with this statue. First off, though, let's take a look at this main body section here. So this is exactly where the back part of the wings are going to key into. We can see some damage was caused up top because of, again, the resin rubbing up against resin. And for the most part, the outfit does look great. We have some magnets inside there. There's the notch that's going to key into the top of that torso that we saw before. And the head is going to be attached with that magnet impacted as well. So for the worst part, this wing, or at least the right section of this wing, came snapped off when it arrived. They sculpted this whole giant, beautiful looking wing as one piece, and that is causing a major flaw because during the shipping process, the way that it sits, it inevitably cracks in half. Multiple people who collected this piece had it happen. If you see here on the right side, we'll try to zoom in soon, you'll see kind of where it was right over here is where it was cracked. Now I used some epoxy glue and a very tricky process and got it to work together. This part of the fist section of the hand did get broken off as well. So honestly, if I didn't have some of the experience that I have with repairing statues and any normal collector, then they would have major issues getting everything together when they arrive because it would be completely shattered and broken. It's completely unnecessary and unacceptable for a studio to have that many issues. Clearly, they did not do a drop test with the boxes. Also, I'll mention here that, again, there's just resin rubbing up against resin. Some of the tails are rubbing up against the pieces of the Susanoo. You can see this piece right here. That's why I had to take it off because it rubs up against that one. As of next week, I plan to do a live stream where we will celebrate the 200,000 subscriber special together, and also we'll be doing the giveaway of this statue you see behind me. It's made by Collectibles Studio featuring KCM Naruto. Thank you to One Piece Collector who's hosting this giveaway. In order to be eligible, leave a comment on any video that was showcased during the month of June, and also follow me on Instagram or Facebook. And I will be randomly selecting one of the comments from any of those videos during the live stream, and maybe even 2 or 3 just in case that one person doesn't respond. But I look forward to doing this giveaway and being able to give back to people so you can enjoy collectibles as well. As I mentioned before, they did sculpt the head separately. If it's one thing they did do a great job with, is the clear resin casting all throughout the statue. I think is flawless and looks really good. If you paid attention before, the wings, even though we had that major issue, the resin looks incredible all around. And then also separately is the shoulder pads. If you look at the notches, both are very different, so you'll know which one does go on the left or right sides. And the shading of the bright purples in between the square areas, I love how it brings the shading out on those. And to wrap things up, before we move on to the characters, we do have the swords that the Susanoo will be holding. So there's actually going to be 2. Here is the first. There's a magnet right in the wrist area. And then we can see that the swords, they actually went for more of a pinkish red tone that go on there. So here's this one, and here's the other one as well. They're pretty much symmetrical, the way that they go on, maybe a little bit different of an angle in the way that it's held. But I'll go ahead and just install one here. The other one I'll install off camera. Easily my favorite part about the statue is going to be Naruto's sculpt. I guess if there's one area in a statue that you don't want to miss the mark on, it's going to be the character representation. All along the bottom of the pant leg cuff, we can see some dust that is on there. And the main part of the outfit is going to be more of a flat toned, while we look at the actual cloak, that's a little bit more glossy looking. They nailed all the different details and markings that you would expect to have on the outfit. And I love how, it looks all tattered and torn, the way that the cloak did look in the show as well during this time. And if we take a look at his left hand, we'll notice that there is a steel rod that's protruding from that area. That's because he's going to be holding a Rasengan in his hand, so that allows it to attach there safe and secure. But that's it for the main body. Here is that piece that they sculpted separately. Looks really good. The clear resin turned out well for this. And then we'll see close up, there is the area that the notch is going to key into. And though a steel rod's going to hold it into place, I actually did use a little bit of blue tack with this when installing it. I always use blue tack if I can. It just adds an extra layer of security on there to be sure that it holds. Again, if it's one thing that Big Gecko Studio nailed, it is gonna be the head sculpt for Naruto. I think it looks absolutely perfect all around. From the hair, the headband, I love that it has the kunai in his mouth. I'm not sure how accurate that is in that moment. I don't recall that being there, but I love the touch tying that into there. But the eye decals they used, the face markings, the coloration that they chose for it, I just love it. This is probably one of my favorite Naruto head sculpts I've ever seen before. While they knocked it out of the park with Naruto, I'm not sure they nailed it with Sasuke. We'll go over different parts that I think are not too great, but overall the paint application was good. Again, there was a steel rod that was inserted in here that did slip out of there, and it's now into that portion of the Susanoo. But all around, the colors, for the outfit, everything looks fine. Everything matches as it goes. It's really right here, that piece that's missing, the head sculpt for this and the neckline. It really throws me off. While Naruto did have a steel rod, Sasuke just has a notch there, so I did definitely have to use some blue tack for the Chidori that you see here. Even though it's a lot more lightweight than the Rasengan that they included, I still want to make sure, I have a bit that's already kind of pre-installed in there. I do that for everything just to be sure that it does stay into place. But this is good. I liked how that turned out. I really love the different colors that they added all throughout to bring that to life. Trying to be super careful here to be sure I don't crack any resin. And here's the unfortunate head sculpt. Something is just completely off. You can let me know in the comments below what you think it is exactly. I do believe that his neck's maybe a little bit elongated and his face is too skinny for this moment. And also I think there's just a lack of emotion overall for it. And then we have his sword that was sculpted out of real steel, so that's a plus. It's awesome when they do sculpt it out of real materials. It has a little bit of weight to it, and they did a great job for that. It kind of slips in to the hand there. Doesn't go all the way down, so I don't want to push it too much. And then that keys right into the neckline. As everyone knows, I love putting some LEDs behind statues. Here's my little spotlight behind the Susanoo. Looks great. Big thanks again to Akshay for letting me showcase this on the channel. I do love the yin-yang feel of the balance all around, the true 1v1 style. A lot packed on here with this statue with everything going on. From certain angles, I love it, like right here or looking upwards towards Naruto. I love certain angles. Looking at it head on, I think that they did maybe cram a little bit too much in here, but I hope you enjoyed yourself today. I know there's some controversial parts where people are going to like it, hate it, but overall, I hope you enjoyed your time today. As always, I'll see you in the next. Do what you love and love what you do. Bam out.